What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Hope everybody's having a good one. Long time no talk. This is a personal episode for me because I have family that is dealing with cancer. And more importantly, I know this individual. She is my wife's best friend. She was in our wedding. And I remember when my wife got this news, it was hard for her. She started crying. And then it got worse because, naturally, my guest Lorena, it just kind of closed off and put up a lot of walls, which is, something that she's definitely herself knocked down, because she reached out to me and said, hey, I if I can help anybody with recording an episode, let me know. So I'm super excited to have my guest, Lorena Lugo, with me. Lorena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, Ozzy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being a guest, because this was big. I dropped the bait, but then I didn't know if you were going to receive it or not, accepted it, and you did. So you were like, yep, I'll do it. So, and then I didn't touch base on it anymore. And then I let you reach out to me, and you were like, hey, I'm available this day. And I'm like, once again, if they reach out to you, that is on their terms. Let's go. So thank you. So let's get to it, because when you showed up, you were like, oh, my God, because yesterday I was doing this. No. And I was like, stop, because that's material for the podcast. And I don't want to rehear it again, because then I'm not going to have natural questions on the spot. So first and foremost, you're dealing with Hodgkin lymphoma.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, yeah.
And at what stage were you diagnosed?
So initially I didn't even know, because my oncologist, she's actually like really good where she says, what's the point in kind of finding out what stage if we're going to treat it the same way? But eventually I did find out it was stage 2B. So B just means not favorable. That could be because it's bulky, because it's spread. In my case, it was a bulky tumor. It was 12 centimeters by 7 centimeters in my chest. So you can imagine kind of how eventually it started getting pretty uncomfortable to lay down. And that's what kind of geared me to go to urgent care to say, hey, I'm having this cough. I have a pain when I lay down, and here I thought I was going to have pneumonia.
So let me, right there is questions, because the first thing I did to try to educate myself was go to Google. And you tell me that the first thing they told you
was don't go to Google. Don't use Google. Yes, because, Google, it's either, well, it's funny because that's actually the first thing I did when I had this cough initially. That's how I wanted to go to urgent care. I had this cough that wouldn't go away, so of course I Googled it.
And that's what I'm saying, because you Googled the symptoms,
I did.
And pneumonia and stuff like that comes up. Because I Google Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I'm seeing here the pictures and stuff, and not much of it to me shows like in the heart. It's all like in the lymph nodes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's important for us to know, I think, especially because it loves the age range between 20 and 40, which is, we're already at that 40 kind of. But it's just important because there's no way to detect it. There is, that's why we have to be so in tune with our bodies and listen when we kind of feel like something's off. But I Googled it at the beginning, and it was either, okay, well, you have the common cold or you have Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was like, oh, Google, you're so silly. I don't have Hodgkin's lymphoma. But sure enough, Google was kind of on point, this time. But yes, the most common place, like to your question, you said it kind of goes in the lymph nodes. The most common place for it to be is in your chest.
Okay.
It's called a mediastinal mass. So it's not in the lungs. It's kind of between the lungs to the front of your chest, but it starts getting uncomfortable when it starts getting bulky like that, because imagine it's kind of pushing your lungs a little bit.
So what were you feeling?
Initially what happened is that my daughter, which I always say when she's old enough to know what happened, I'm going to tell her you saved my life, because she got me sick. And she kicks it, you have kids, they kick it in like 2 seconds, and I just kept coughing and coughing. And I actually remember we went to celebrate your birthday. It was in 2022.
Yeah, it was during my 40th birthday during COVID.
When it was in 2022,
okay.
We actually were at Lisa's dad's house.
Yes, yeah.
And I was coughing and coughing and coughing, and I was like, oh my goodness, everybody around me is going to think I have COVID or something. I know I was worried about that. And then kind of shortly after that was when I went ahead and I found out that I had it.
So what were you? So it was started with coffee.
Yes. I'm sorry. It started with coughing. When I went to lay
So,
down.
so for listeners, that's around February is when you started coughing and stuff like that.
Correct. I started coughing around, actually, it was even January that I started coughing. And it was just, it's nonstop, coughing. Sometimes the bouts are so severe that I couldn't get to sleep at night, no matter what you take. It doesn't matter. I started, and here, this might be TMI, but it was, phlegm but mustard color.
No,
Sorry.
that's not, I mean, listen, there's no TMI here. We talk about everything here because the purpose is to educate people.
Yeah.
And with anybody dealing with cancer, be prepared for TMI.
Yeah.
Be prepared for moments that you weren't expecting that, that just tear you down. Like I remember when my grandmother got cancer, I tell everybody that what killed her was she was such of like a diva and a beauty person, and what ended up like breaking her down was when she got the bag get put on her. She says that's it. Like there was no reason. She just knew, and even though her hair had already fallen out and stuff, she knew that. I remember her saying like that. It was like no purpose in living because she couldn't even go anywhere, and so you that starts happening to people, right? And you see that or that's what I'm talking about, the TMI. That's just that's things that I never thought I'd end up seeing, right? Mm-hmm. So I went with that. And so please, unless you don't want to, please feel free to speak about anything and as clearly as possible and as explicit as possible. I curse here all the time because it's the reality. Is we want to show people the reality of what you went through, okay, and what you're going through now, because you've been through a lot. That this started in 2022. Now that you say, shit, we're in January of 2024, so 2 years ago. Yeah,
I was diagnosed 2/22/22. Well, that's the day I went to urgent care. But yeah, it was like mustard color, like phlegm and strings. It was really weird. I want to mention at the same time I was getting allergy shots because I'm allergic to cats and I have 5 cats. I'm a crazy cat lady. So I was doing that at the same time. I actually was vaccinated with COVID, which will be an interesting topic that we can actually talk about later on because I brought that up to my oncologist as well.
And I wanted to. And this is where it's crazy because we're 9 minutes into the podcast, and this is where I was actually talking to my wife last night, and I was like, damn, baby, I know Lorena brings it up all the time. She has no problem. She already brought up the question to her doctor, and I just really hope that I want to first and foremost say we're not stating any facts here, that because I don't want this to get censored and rob away from somebody that's going through cancer taking advantage of listening to this podcast. But we are going to ask questions that anybody that hasn't gotten the vaccine or something like that might have, and someone that has gotten it and now dealing with what you're dealing with had. Sure. So that's what I want to touch, and I really hope that we don't get censored for that. But we are going to talk about that. I'll figure out a way to put this on a different platform or whatnot. But it is, and you brought it up, and we will. Yeah. We will touch on that because I do have some serious questions. But so February of 2022.
Right.
I mean, let's just go there already because you touched it. You got the vaccine when?
I got the vaccine. We'll kind of rewind a little bit.
Okay.
I was, like I said, I was getting, these allergy shots. At the same time, my daughter was starting school. And of course they were saying at the time, in 2021, hey, kids, don't, get it too bad. So I went ahead and decided, and my husband were like, I don't know. I don't want to. Cause I personally, I've never been a fan of any type of medicine, anything in my body.
Yeah.
But then we just like, well, whatever, let's get, I get the vaccine. So that was in September of 2021.
Okay.
During the same time I had another cold, which sent me, funny enough, to the urgent care, and they did an x-ray of my chest, and it was clean.
And this was when?
September of 2021.
When you did that
x-ray.
That x-ray. That's why I'm asking, because we want a timeline of progression here, because
last vaccine, I'm sorry, and let me go back. It was in August, right before my daughter started
that was the last
school.
shot you had.
Right, because I had 2 of Pfizer. And then I did the X-ray after that. Year progressed. The end of the year comes, holidays. I get sick in January, cough, cough, cough. So February 22nd of 2022, my husband's like, you just need to go to urgent care already because your cough is out of control at this point. And I was like, yeah, whatever, at least they'll give me something for this pneumonia I had. I kept saying pneumonia, pneumonia, pneumonia. Other symptoms I did have as well are night sweats. But again, hey, I just didn't attribute that to
No,
anything.
and if you feel like you might have a cold or if you have fever, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's natural. So
I had rashes,
okay,
some rashes on my shins and some on my arm, kind of where it folds here.
okay.
I went to the dermatologist. They asked me, they did a pathology on it, and they said,
Any blood work?
I had blood work done too. My
Okay.
blood was fine, although now when I kind of go look back at all my lab work, I did notice that my lymphocytes were a little bit low, but my PCP, their APRN was saying, hey, your blood work is beautiful. Your blood work is fine. You don't have anything.
Okay.
I kept saying, oh, but I have this infection. Even the allergy, the ENT doctor was saying, this is just an upper respiratory infection.
And this is coming already, saying this from when? Like September?
Yeah, it's between September
to January
and February.
and February. Okay.
Yeah, it's between that timeline. So I saw an ENT, I saw my PCP, and I saw a dermatologist.
And you've had a few scans or one scan.
I had an X-ray of my chest.
An X-ray in your chest and
Clean.
And clean. And
Clean.
then in February now, when we're finally getting this addressed now, do they start with an X-ray?
So I go to urgent care immediately. I tell them and I say, I think I need an X-ray at this point because that's where you'd be able to tell pneumonia. The nurse looks at me. She's like, yes, absolutely. With a cough that long, we're going to do an X-ray.
So they did an X-ray.
They did an X-ray at urgent care.
And was there a
February 22nd.
difference of something in the image already there? Because the
Absolutely.
reason I ask is because we went from a 5-month difference in images, same type of images. So I don't want to say like, oh, because it was a CT, maybe they could
X-ray to
MRI. No,
X-ray.
X-ray to X-ray, 5-month difference. And now we're noticing some sort of a significant difference that was not an anomaly that was not there before.
A mass 12 centimeters by 7 centimeters
Okay.
in there. So, the doctor comes in with someone else, which I found
And no
weird.
fluid in the lungs.
No, I mean,
not
immediately-
pneumonia.
Yeah, no, immediately he just said, listen, you have a mass. When he said that, the first words that I blurted out, and I'm never going to forget. I'm sorry, Ozzy.
It's all right. This is why Lisa told me to get tissues. And then this is natural though. We're gonna cry,
and I can't
and then
cry
we're gonna
'cause
laugh.
I kept,
Okay.
I can't have my eyelashes
She's
falling off.
freaking out. She said all of this, and I'm like, she's like, I don't know how Lorena's gonna do it because of her makeup, and like my wife knows you, so
Yeah, and I can't
All
even
right.
like wear makeup because I have dermatitis because of this stupid treatment. But anyways, first thing I blurted was I have a 4-year-old. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
yeah, it's like, I mean, your life flashes before your eyes, right there. You know what I'm saying? And I hate this. I love it, but I hate this fucking song because it constantly rings in my head. That country song that says 5 more minutes, right? And immediately you're like, whoa, wait a second, 5 more minutes, 5 more years or something like. You know what I'm saying? I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So then, did you like immediately while you're there? You say that, but then. Are you receptive, or are you just like a muffled like?
I was even alone because my husband stayed home with my daughter. And again, what I'm thinking
I was
is,
going to ask you this because Lisa told me ask that because
and I was fine otherwise. I mean,
because you went to urgent care.
Yeah, I was fine otherwise. I would still go running because I used to love running.
But hold on, this isn't like a process that took weeks in a hospital.
No.
I felt bad February 22nd, and I went to urgent care. So urgent care is like an hours process,
Yeah.
and within hours, your life changed.
Yeah, urgent care, and in fact, it was empty. There was no one there.
So you got to be seen fast.
I was seen right away. They did the X-ray. I came back in the room. I was texting my husband saying, "Oh, I got, I wonder what they're gonna send me for this. Like, how do they treat pneumonia?" Because I was just so convinced, Ozzy. So he says, the doctor proceeds. He's like, I have a small child too, and he was like, "Look, I don't know. We don't know what this could be at this point. I need you to right now go to the emergency room and I need them to do a CT scan." And I said, okay. And immediately he's like, I'm going to call over there and make sure that they see you right away, that they're expecting you. So I went ahead from there. I get out. I'm crying. I tell my husband they found a mass. He's like, what? Let me go ahead. He took my daughter to my mom's house, dropped her off. I get to the hospital. They take me, and my husband meets up with me there. And we're still at that point. He's like, calm down. Like, what if this is an infection? Like, sometimes this can happen. What if it's this? What if it's that? We're going through it. So, I mean, I do the CT scan. When you're waiting, it's like an eternity. The doctor comes back and he said, you most likely have lymphoma. That's the point. Go back to what you said. That was my shock moment. I know I screamed and I started crying, and I just thought that I had gotten a death sentence. And the first thing I was thinking is, I'm not going to see my daughter in the big moments in life. This is it. I'm dead. And I don't remember much. I don't remember like walking out. I don't remember that part. When I kind of snapped out of it, I was already home. And my husband,
that's where it got muffled for you. That's where
like it was.
You don't even know if you asked questions or not, but you were just like in a floating mode.
I don't think I did. And this is something like completely, obviously, two different experiences, but I don't know, like, and it's something I'd like to ask you now, like, you've been in combat, and like, do you ever, how in the movies they portray a moment where like something goes off, like a bomb or like something, and everything is just like, you just like don't hear anything.
Well, that's what I asked you when you first got that. Did you get that muffledness? Did you get? Were you just like in shock?
It was when I went to the ER that he said, you most likely have lymphoma.
And this is a regular doctor talking to you.
Yeah,
this
isn't
even
doctor.
This isn't even like a cancer doctor.
No.
But so this is.
He was, and I remember like he did say, you most likely have lymphoma. And I remember after he just said, I don't want you to be in denial. And then he started saying something else. I have no idea what else he said. I got home, and at that point, my husband was telling me, Lorena, please, Lorena. And my sister got there, her husband, and then it was like this nightmare, like the journey started the next day immediately.
So this was February 2022.
Yeah, 2/22/22.
Yeah, for all you people out there that are like, oh my God, because I want to post 2/22/22, it might not be all that great for everybody.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is now where I think we're gonna ride together, because I told you from the beginning I wanted this podcast to be an educational thing for me. Like if I'm your spouse or I'm a spouse of someone going through it, and I want you to educate me a little bit. What started happening then? Because you're working. Let's try to answer questions for people that, because this doesn't just happen to only housewives, the people that have no life, career set, stuff like that. I know you're very career driven. You're very like, when you find something, I like it and I'm good at it, and you were doing that with your linen things to the point where you were an event planner, to then you started your own event planning company. So it's like, I know you're like that. And were you working at the time?
I actually, so in January I was interviewing for a new job. I got the job as a business development executive for a company which transports and stores fine art across the country and worldwide as well. It's the largest company that does
they're like
that.
a locker system in a way, and they store it for the collector.
They store it for collector, for museums, for private, like you said, private collectors, institutions. So the top pieces of art, we move them, right? I got the job, and then I am scheduled to begin working in March. It was March 14th or something like this of 2022. I had to make the call to who was going to be my new boss and say, hey, by the way, I have Hodgkin, or I have lymphoma,
I just got diagnosed with
I
lymphoma.
just got diagnosed.
It's not like I'm pulling the rug out from under you guys.
It was a lengthy interview process. I had to interview with 4 different people. So it spanned from December to February, the interviews. So it was, I was thinking, oh my goodness, are they going to be okay with it? Or thankfully they were, and everything is fine. But it's now this whole, and I work, from home, but it was like, that was something, of course, in my head.
Of course, and that's why I ask you, because it happens to other people. What do you do? Like, what do you do in that situation? You know what I'm saying?
The great thing was that I worked from home, and they were very gracious in that, okay, hey, you have a doctor's appointment. Your health does come first. Go take care of that. I will say that during the process, I have been in the hospital in meetings getting an IV line put in me. So I've done meetings while getting chemo. It can be done, but it's just something else to kind of add to the equation.
Right. And so you kept the job. Now you start the process. Like, we're still in February when you first got this diagnosis and stuff. You start in March, the treatment, right?
Right. Jesus, when was my first treatment? So my first treatment was actually in the beginning of April. They went ahead and they did every single type of test you can think of before I started chemo. I had lung performance tests. They checked how the condition of my heart was. Thankfully, the mass was localized, so it had not spread to any lymph nodes. It had not spread to any organs, which is...
Because I was going to ask you, right?
It's very important to kind of note that. So it hadn't spread anywhere. So
because when doing my research, and so let's educate people here, the 5-year relative survival rate of people with localized Hodgkin's lymphoma is 93%. If the cancer spread regionally, the 5-year relative survival rate is 95%. If the cancer has spread to different parts of the body, the 5-year relatively survival rate is 83%.
Right.
So
which is still a great percentage.
But it starts dropping.
I mean, absolutely.
10% is 10%.
Yeah. 10% is 10%.
When you're in the mindset of what you're thinking, I want to reach these goals in life where, see my family members, my daughter do this and this and that. So,
and we'll talk also later. I'll bring up another 10% that, because kind of even going to statistics, I fell in a percentage already. I already fell in a percentage of people that get lymphoma,
Yeah, like you said, the age frame. You were within the age frame.
Within the age frame. And, the statistics are that 1 of every 3 men will get cancer, not specifically lymphoma. I'm sorry, 1 in every 3 women and 1 in every 2 men.
Okay.
So it's just crazy, but you can be on the other side, or, hey, it's a 50-50 chance, hey, if you're a guy, 50-50 chance, which...
It's crazy because I don't want to be, and I've never been a hypochondriac or anything like that, right? But I'm trying to educate myself so much because of the odds that you said, right? But then there's organizations out there that, unlike me, that I just deal with taking veterans that have PTSD and traumatic brain injury fishing. There's organizations out there that are dedicated to helping veterans with cancer. Not supposedly, there is a big rise in percentage and in numbers of combat veterans that were overseas around smoke pits and in specific vehicles and stuff like that now have cancer. So it's almost like it sucks. I hope I don't ever get it, but I'm trying to prepare myself, right, in case I really do, because I have so many high chances and factors. Like, for instance, I've read in other places that stress can be like a trigger. Fuck, I'm 100% disabled for PTSD, right? That's, I think, what triggered my lupus or whatever it is that happened to my joints last year. And I'm scared. So I'm trying to educate myself. So, I do, a bunch of things like this, and it was so beneficial for me to have you on. So I reached out to people and stuff, and I was like, ask me questions and stuff. So now that you're talking about chemo, let's throw in a chemo question from someone that I know that is dealing with the same exact cancer that you have.
Okay.
How long did it take for you to fully recover after chemo? So how long was your chemo?
To answer the first part.
Okay.
I'm still recovering.
You're still recovering.
I'm still recovering, and I'll go into detail why.
Okay, but so let's answer that question. You're recovering from as of when? When did you stop?
I started in April of 2022.
Okay.
I did 12 cycles. So each time you go in, it's called a cycle. So that spanned 6 months. And I would be there, trying to think back, it was once every other week I would go in. And I would sit there for like 3 or 4 hours getting this chemo regimen I was on. The chemo regimen, for those that are interested, is ABVD.
It's an IV?
I had a chemo port immediately put in.
Which is a question here. How long will they keep the port in?
Right.
Now that you're talking about that.
The port, it depends from doctor to doctor. So that first kind of chemo, it finished in September.
12 sessions.
Yeah, I rang the bell. I was super happy. But they said, we're going to keep the port in, maybe another year, just to make sure, because there is a thing called refractory cancer. What does refractory cancer mean? It means that you still have a small percentage of cancer that didn't fully go away. And you also have, of course, relapse, which everyone knows what relapse is when it comes back. My cancer showed no metabolic activity after 4 cycles, so after 4 different sessions. Great. My cancer was dead, right? Fast forward to October, they do a PET scan. And I was feeling at that point fine, because that chemo regimen is the template least toxic kind of regimen they'll start with in order to not give you that much toxicity, right? The point is to kill the cancer. But again, remember, chemo kills every type of cell, good or bad.
I was going to ask you, because it says here, when I asked that question, it said some drugs used to treat Hodgkin's lymphoma can cause heart problems.
Yeah.
Which I think in your head would be like a big fear, considering the location where it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you might have regular heart tests. Some chemo drugs, particularly bleomycin, can cause inflammation of the lungs. Your doctor will probably stop giving you bleomycin straight away if that happens to you. So you said this first batch was fine.
The first, and I will go, I'm sorry I keep going back, but things are
it's fine.
Coming up. But after my first cycle, I got a fever, which chemo fever is kind of pretty common. But if you do get a fever, they want you to immediately go to the emergency room. I did, and they did another x-ray when I did. And
while we're on this first cycle, did you also lose your hair?
No.
No, okay. All right, so go ahead. Yeah. You went to the emergency room.
I went to the emergency room, and the emergency room doctor went crazy, and he's like, you have fluid in your heart, like around your heart and in your lungs, and this can kill you. At that moment, I was shocked for a second, and then I swear to you that I just started laughing, because I was like,
"There, dude.
What else is next?"
Lorena, welcome to my dark side. So, us PTSD guys and people and women that have survived death and near-death experiences and stuff, we all of a suddenly get this like dark, super dark humor that you're like literally, doctor just came in and said, "This is gonna kill you." You're like, dude, I was just told something's going to kill me a few months ago. You know what I'm saying?
No, I was just like, is this really happening? And also something that, for me, I know everyone has their own beliefs. I believe in God. I have faith in him. And I felt like a calm, like a peace kind of come over me. And I was like, listen, it's out of your control. I'm doing what I can. I'm getting the medicines, whatever. Thankfully, it did not kill me. And I am still here. Yeah. But, I go ahead, finish that whole, ring the bell. I went to Disney in December of 2022.
Okay.
I was fine. I had energy. I went for a whole week. I went to all 4 parks. That takes, energy. And, I was good. My hair, going back to that hair question, it did thin out, In
that first cycle?
No, it started kind of thinning around cycle number 6. During ABVD.
Oh, sorry. That's right. Each session is a cycle.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so
during that first chemo regimen.
That regimen, which is the 12. Okay, so around 6,
around cycle number 6, it started thinning out where, I'd comb my hair. And my oncologist told me, it's probably going to fall out, but you're never ready for that as, a woman. I'm sure as a man as well. You're never really ready for that.
It affected my stepdad a lot. I know that he loved his goatee and stuff, and now recently his cancer came back, and then now he lost it. So now he's like, really, he got bummed about that. Did you immediately want to like make yourself look different and stuff like that, or did you embrace the suck? Like, what did you do?
So yeah, and that's something that I know.
And the reason I ask
different.
is everybody's different, but the reason I ask is because from the beginning you've mentioned about your daughter, right? So like, what presents did you want to give her? did you want to give her, you know, the superhero I own it thing,
Right.
or did you just want to keep your look and not scare her? Like what was going through your mind, and what did you did you take?
Before it fell out, I bought her a book, and it was like very, you know, at that point, you know, she was 5 years old. So it was very kind of, you know, elementary, you know, where it talks about sometimes mommy can be tired and, you know, sitting on the couch. Mommy may wear different wigs, but, you know, it's not something that you can catch, because that's also something that's important, like as little kids, you know.
I remember reading my kids a book about PTSD.
Yeah. So it's because you're almost like also, I don't know how to tell them this. You know, she's seen me always, I had always long brown hair, and she's seen me this way. So I didn't, like you said, I didn't want to scare her. But she was kind of innocent about it. And to this day, now she's 6 years old, she's still kind of innocent and doesn't understand the gravity of what happened. But I did not shave it off because, again, it didn't fall off completely.
Just thinned out.
It just thinned out. Eventually, it was like pretty thin, but still, like, I could be in a meeting for work, again, since I work from home, and I had it picked up in the back, and it looks like I just had it picked up in the back. So I never shaved it because I didn't know. Power, though, I always see people that shave it, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that courage, but I
know my cousin did it.
I'm like, I don't have that courage. So I did, you know, get wigs and whatnot. So everything was fine, you know, after that first regimen, and well, we thought it was okay.
Which is a question, you know, like, does the lymphoma go away?
Right.
So
after I did the 4, like I said, it was no metabolic activity, which means cancer is dead. So they took away the B, which is the bleomycin that you mentioned, because, hey, we don't need to use this anymore. We'll use it for 4 cycles. Let's take it away because we don't want to risk any problems with the lungs, you know, later on. I do my PET scan, which is just kind of, you know, rudimentary to just do it, you know. But then they saw a little something. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know if it was an infection, because that's the thing. Sometimes if you have a cold, this can come out in a PET scan. So that was in October, and they said, we'll repeat it in December. In December, I repeated it, same thing. And at that point, I started getting a little bit nervous, like, I can't have an infection twice, you know? While I'm at Disney, I get a call, and it's like, okay, hey, when you come back in January, we're just going to go ahead and move to do a biopsy, okay? Because one of your lymph nodes, like, it's just lighting up a little bit. So in a PET scan, you'll hear those terms a lot, lighting up. So that means that the PET scan is picking up kind of wherever, you know, there's something that's a little sketchy. The good news was, again, that they couldn't really tell what it was, so it wasn't something huge. So I do a biopsy. I still have my chemo port, you know, inserted me. I also do another bone marrow biopsy. Those are real fun, because you're awake for those. And I get there, and I know I go to do blood the day I'm going to see my doctor, my oncologist, for the results. And the lab, the person who draws the blood tells me, oh, are you going to start chemo? And I'm like, right away, I know, okay, I still have cancer, because why would she be asking me that? I go into the room, my oncologist comes in, and every time she's going to deliver something that's not good, she sits on her chair and kind of slides closer to you. And I'm like, And she's like, okay, so you have refractory cancer. So that is that. She said, we didn't get everything, and it was so small that we didn't get it.
Okay, so let me stop you right there, because another question that I was asked, ask her if she takes any pills to prevent the cancer from coming back. So did you take any pills once you had stopped that first regimen?
No.
No pills were taken?
No pills.
Okay.
No pills. The only pill that they give you is prophylactic, one pill called a cyclovir. And that's because shingles is very, like, I guess it can come up during treatment because you're immunocompromised. So any patient that's getting this, like the gold standard. So
shingles is something that could happen.
It could
What
happen.
about neuropathy?
Neuropathy is something that can happen. I did not get it that first time around. So the plan was, at that point, you know, go ahead and, you know, pretty much start chemo again, but this time we're incorporating. I had 2 different avenues. They were like, you can do this very like low dose immunotherapy.
So do they go to tell you can do the same thing again, or no? Now it's something different.
Right. So think of, for example, antibiotic, right?
Yeah. This didn't work out. We're going to bump it up a little bit more.
So there is cell intelligence, cancer, intelligence. And pretty much how my oncologist describes it is whenever the chemo goes to kind of start killing, what it does is it starts shutting down so that it can't be found, the cancer cell. So then this immunotherapy that they gave me, what it does is it kind of like turns on the light so that the drug
they're forced
can see
to
it.
Be seen, yeah.
Exactly, and then attack it. And so it teaches your body to like, hey, this is bad, kill it. So I started again, chemo and immunotherapy in February of 2023.
So this is a year out now.
Yeah, 2023. And I did 4 cycles. I did 2 with only chemo, and then I did 2 with chemo and immunotherapy. After that, here's the kicker. My oncologist told me, no matter which kind of route you choose, it's either the immunotherapy or the immunotherapy with chemo, you're going to have a bone marrow transplant after that, no matter what.
So they already told you that this is happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Because anytime you have relapse or you have refractory, then they need to like wipe the slate clean, and you need to go into a bone marrow transplant, which is the same thing as a stem cell transplant. Yeah, and that process, I did I was hospitalized.
So you're doing the bone marrow transplant as you're doing the second, or right after you finish the second regimen?
I finished that second regimen, then I go in for a bunch of tests. Again, repeat everything. I'm hospitalized the day after Easter of 2023. And the moment I get there, then they tell me I have pneumonitis. So I can't start the chemo regimen before transplant immediately. And to kind of go back, you can't have a bone marrow transplant or a stem cell transplant unless you're in remission. So
you have to be in remission. You have to ring the bell,
for
technically.
the most favorable outcome, you have to be in remission. So after that second regimen, I was in remission.
Did you lose your hair that second regimen? No. So we're still thinned out.
We're still thin hair. Yeah. I am hospitalized. I have pneumonitis. They start pumping me with steroids. They're trying to see, what are we gonna do?
And let's stop right there, because once again, I know who you are. I know the type of woman you are. How's your weight change going on at this in this time?
Right.
And like what's happening to your body as well?
Yes, yeah. So that was a huge thing for me. Definitely a trigger for me is my body. Like I said before, like I always used to run. I used to love running. I was always, I'm someone that takes care of myself. And so I went from starting my hair thinning out to starting to gain weight also because you're put on steroids as well. Not to mention the fact that when you first find out, you're depressed. So you're sedentary. So I started with my weight. It was a 134 when the whole process started. And by December of 2022, I was at 160. Okay. When I go into the hospital and I'm on IV steroids like all day. During that time, my weight, of course, starts going up even further. When I'm hospitalized, I get my 3rd regimen of chemo.
Okay, so this is April now.
This is April. I get one that is called Beam, and it is one that my oncologist already had told me. He said,
this is the hard hitter.
He's like, you're never going to see these drugs again. You're also never going to be able to have children again. So that was also very hard because...
to absorb.
It's like you're getting hit like one thing after the other. You're just like, when the hell is this going to end?
Because like you said, you're a faithful person and you still have faith and you're like, okay, cool. And you still do, right? But you're like, okay, right, I get it. You're still putting me through it.
Yeah.
When?
And they keep on like telling you like over and over like these things, but whatever. I did my 3rd chemo Beam. One of them, which is the last one, called Malphilan.
How many sessions was that?
That is 6 days straight of chemo.
So it's 6 sessions, but it's one massive
day
session
after the other.
Right.
Yeah. That last
because normally
one,
your body recovers a week and a half and stuff.
Yeah. No, once with that Beam one is intense. That last one, you actually have to sit down, and the nurses come in and they bring you jugs of ice, and they're like, okay, start like chewing ice, sucking on the ice, doing everything you can. It was for an hour. Was it an hour? Yeah, it was like an hour. Your mouth has to be frozen because the thing is, if you don't, you're going to get sores all on the insides of your mouth and in your throat, which is going to be like impossible for you to eat. So I was like nonstop with the ice. Thankfully, I didn't get any sores.
So this is a big one to understand on why they help you, and sometimes you're being stubborn because you're like, I don't fucking want to do anything.
Yeah.
Why it's important to do this PTs, these type of even preventative maintenances to your body and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, no, it's like you don't have a choice, and at that moment you just have to like listen to everything that they're telling you because we don't know. And that's another thing I noticed also. Everybody wants to like, no, but I want to do this, and this is my, and it's like, dude, this is your life. Just stop, humble yourself, and do whatever they need you to do, you know?
I want to ask you this because my aunt is asking, what happened when they finish when the treatment when they finish treatment or when the treatment finishes? Do they reduce the meds periodically? But in your case, now we've been through 3 treatments.
Right.
During that whole time, are they adding meds to you, reducing meds to you? Are you staying the same? Because the same thing as antibiotics, they'll play around with the stuff in between, right? That's helping you out or whatnot.
To answer, I know that, I'm familiar with your cousin's situation. Yeah. And most people, and this is another statistic, most people will go ahead and be cured with that first chemo regimen. And after that, hey, you're free, unless there's something else going on. For me personally, there wasn't anything else. I was an excellent health.
And so we have information for people so they don't have to go Google it while we're more than 80 out of 100. More than 80% survived their cancer for 5 or more years after diagnosis. 75 out of 100 people, 75%, survived their cancer for 10 years or more after their diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So, like, this is something you can live with or get cured from and then be good from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why everybody, I can't tell you how many times people were like, oh, if you have cancer, this is the one that you want to have.
Good, because I want to ask you that because one of the questions my cousin had, the last one she had was actually one of the first ones, but it doesn't make sense, right? So she said one of her coworkers has breast cancer. Plus, I've interviewed someone here that has breast cancer, and she has to take pills for 5 years. So since you said that, like, this is the optimal one to have, is it because once you're cured, like, that's it, you don't have to take pills, you don't have to take something?
I think it's because the cure rate is so high.
Okay.
It's solely based on the cure rate. Now, every person is different.
Correct.
So different pills, like for me, after I was done in 2022, I had to take the acyclovir again. They want you to take that one to prevent shingles, just in case, because you have a weakened immune system. But my blood work was great after that, and everything was fine. So if I had been cured at that point, that's it. I would have just been living my life, and it was a closed chapter, and I wouldn't have the mega anxiety that I have now, because the mental state I was in December or September of 2022, way different than after a bone marrow transplant and what I've gone through, and just the fact that it's like, why didn't this cancer go away completely? Like, why? Why did I fall in at 10% of people who they don't get cured in the first go at it?
Okay.
That's the statistic. I felt in that 10%,
Okay. Because, once again, give people little snippets of what I've got. Can you live a full life with Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? For some people, HL may never go away completely. These people may get regular treatments with chemotherapy, radiation therapy, or other therapies to help control it for as long as possible and to help relieve symptoms. Learning to live with HL that doesn't go away can be difficult and very stressful. Now, we went through that stressful part for 3 cycles, like you said, or 3 regimens, like you said, right? So when did you finally, and the surgery and all that stuff, when did you at least start finally seeing light in the tunnel?
Until recently, I would say, because I was hospitalized for a month. I had
What triggered that hospitalization?
It's just part of the bone marrow transplant. Pretty much, they get you. How to best describe it is they get you as close as possible to death, to killing you, because chemo does that. It kills good and bad cells. The cancer just has nothing to live off.
No protein to live off of.
And at that point, technically, I was also already in remission. So it's just like like an extra kind of step. They put the stem cells, your good stem cells. I had my own stem cells. I didn't use a donor back inside of me. But then, your immune system is so low. Something I wasn't prepared for is that everyone goes ahead and we all have E. coli and all these bacteria in our gut, but they're always in check because our body keeps them in check. When you have no immune system, who keeps that in check?
Right.
So I got a really bad E. coli infection like 2 days after my transplant, where my husband, he's like, for 3 days, you just like slept. That's all you did. And he said that was a point where he was concerned. But eventually I got home after a month. That time was so difficult. And all this time without my daughter.
So we're in 2023.
Now we're in May 2023.
May of 2023.
My immune system is zero. My daughter's going to school, so she's staying at my mom's house because I cannot risk getting sick.
Correct.
I couldn't walk. My husband had to help me in and out of the shower.
And we're going to get to this because I wanted to build everything up that you had been through from when you started feeling sick in September to now, right? How important would you say has your support system been?
God, well, first, like I said, I have my faith, so that's been for me like super important. Then having the people around you, my husband, my family, and close friends. And I'll say close friends because this is a very isolating experience, you really learn who are those people who aren't just there to go have drinks with
and I want to
that
say,
are going to be there in hard times, because let me tell you,
I want to say that's the PTSD, that's the trauma part about it, because I felt like that. And I've never had cancer, but I felt like that when I wanted to end it all. That where the fuck are all these people that I used to snort coke with and party with and hang out at the club with and spend money with, and they would always call me up, but none of them are calling me up because I've been blowing them off and I've been depressed or whatever. Like, why are they not there now?
I experienced that, and I've, it's hard because you know me, how, I've always been like, let's all get together. Let's all do this. And to be in your darkest moments.
And it's hard because everybody knows you feel like that too, and then everybody knows you're sick or you can get sick easily. So it's like, I remember there were times that Lisa would be like, I don't even know if I should invite Lorena. I feel so bad. At least I'm going to let her know about it. Or,
Right.
So it's like, but I get what you're saying, like where that darkness, that loneliness comes from. Like, I want people to understand it and feel it. So like, how important do you think, because what I've seen from your husband has been amazing, right? And the rest of the family, right? But like the way that your support system is, like how crucial do you think that is? And the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, some people will shut down and build walls around them, and that support system can't get through.
Yeah. And I did that at the beginning. Absolutely. And I knew like, okay, I can't do that like this time around because I don't want to be that person. I also don't want to be an amargada because I felt like a lot of things would trigger me, whether it's something someone said. God, I'll be honest, and let me put that out here right now. Let's not tell cancer people that they're so brave and that they're warriors and that they're, like, oh my God, you're so strong. And it's like, dude, I'm scared shitless. I am scared. I'm doing what I have to do. And if you were in my shoes, you'd do the same exact thing. I'm not, another thing. It's like that, they love to, but if you don't eat this and this and that. And I was like, okay, so you don't eat sugar either, because everybody eats sugar, which means that we should all have cancer, because that's a misconception. Oh, if you eat sugar, you get cancer. There's so many things that even to this day, I'm really working on trying to control, because
Not let it trigger you.
I get so angry and I'm like, I can't be that person. They're not saying it out of a place that's bad, but it's upsetting to hear people sometimes or complain about like this, what's in my head, the stupidest thing. And I'm like,
trust me, it'll get better in a way. I think if you stay the way that you are, clean and the dark humor then just creates even more, right? Like at first I hated it, especially when I would hear someone, because I knew what PTSD did to me. It stripped me from my family. from everything that I knew, it put me in total darkness. I wanted to end it all. I already had friends that already had killed themselves. So I was just waiting like a ticking time bomb for it to happen to me. And then I'd hear somebody say, "Oh my God, this line just at the Dolphins game or the Marlins game just gave me PTSD." And I'm like, bro, I want to strangle you right now. You know what I'm saying?
People
like,
using terms loosely.
now I laugh about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay though, because it's words at the end of the day. People have to express themselves. I know some people might be ignorant to it or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, I want to throw that out there. You know what I'm saying? That eventually I have gotten over it. A lot of people I know have gotten over it, but we've all been triggered at the beginning about it, right?
People are like, oh my God, if I have to do this, I'm going to die. And it's like, that was very like,
that was a big trigger for you.
It was, because it's like, you have no idea what it's like to face death. Like, or this is going to make me want to die or die, you know? It was such a trigger. And I was like, little by little, I have to tell myself, it's an expression of speech. You know, people, you don't even know when you're saying it. You know, I can't be that person, because the only one that's getting bitter about it is me.
Right.
You know, and I can't let that eat me. But yeah, going back to your support system is huge. And I think for anybody that kind of wants to know how to navigate that situation, because I understand it's most of I was seeing a therapist, you know, for a long time, and during this, and she said a lot of people just don't know what to say. They don't know what to say in a situation like this. So it's like, maybe just every now and then, like, even a text is the most minimal you could do for someone in this situation, just to let them know that you're thinking about them. Because for me, I felt like, especially,
let them know they're still here.
Yeah, let them know you're still here. Because for me, even like social media can be great for some things, and I just felt like the whole world kept moving and my life had just stopped. And so at some point, I even had to stop looking at social media, because I'm happy. I'm happy that people are doing their stuff. Like, the world isn't going to stop because Lorena has cancer. That's not how it works, you know? But it was hard. It was hard, especially for some people, not to even reach out via text, you know?
Did you end up losing your hair that third regiment finally? Because what you told me, that how hard hitting it was, like, it broke you down. Like, it so physically, what does it do to you? Like,
physically, yeah, you can't. I did lose my hair, and at this point, it was just like,
like how they show, like the blobs of it coming.
It's a blob of hair that comes out at this point. I looked like I was just like a dead person. Like, I had no color on my face. I had just dark eyes. I couldn't walk. I would just wake up, sit on the couch, watch TV, and that was my life for a good month after I got home, month and a half.
And that month could feel like an eternity.
And it was the same four walls, because I couldn't leave the house. And I was just like, when is this going to end? You know, like, when do I feel like myself, you know? When my daughter came home, like, after, because summer vacation now, I'm not concerned about germs. That got better. I had now, this little being that is looking at you, and you can't, I don't want to cry in front of her, but it was at first when she saw me, and I had, and I was like, look what I did. I
was going to say, did you have already a wig on, or
I used a cap in the house, because I didn't,
okay.
But I was having, because I had injections that would basically stop your menstrual cycle.
Okay.
They do not want you to bleed during this period, because
so is it because now your blood is so thin or anything that you could just bleed out? Like, what? It's just,
they don't want you
keep your blood, your protein, and everything.
And so I would get hot flashes. So at that point, I just take off the hat. So at first she was like, whoa, mama, what happened to your hair? And I was like, it's a new look, mommy. It's going to be great for Halloween,
Should have shown her G.I. Jane or something.
July was her birthday, so we did just me, her, and my husband, which is her father, at home, the three of us, so that was July of 2023.
How? Because I'm this way now. Once I overcame PTSD and moved back in with Lisa, and I told her that my nucleus is my family, us.
Yes.
Like there's times, and I'm sorry to both of our families. There's times during the holidays that she's like, hey, let's go to so-and-so's out. I'm like, I don't want to fucking go anywhere. I want to stay home with us four, wake up, hear us four, eat with us four, fight with us four, no one else. I don't want to hear anybody else because I just want to absorb this, right?
100%.
How did that change for you? Like
That
big
changed
time?
for me. And here's the thing, and Lisa can attest to it because, let's see, like I did not too long ago, I think that I did, dinner with her and another friend of ours. And I said, well, Sunday at 7 or after 7. And I didn't really give a reason why, but my daughter goes to sleep at 7. And I can't stand like losing a minute with her because
No.
it's so, I mean, not just because you have cancer or anything, like it's just not, it's so cliche to say it, but we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And
We're not.
I don't want to waste, and it's not a waste of time to be with, like someone like Lisa, who I love like a
understand
sister,
what
and I've
you're
known her
saying.
forever, but those two people, my husband and Evangeline, and my cats, that's
That gives
my
me allergy.
nucleus. Yeah.
That triggered all. No.
Yeah. Who knows if it was that or what it was.
My cat named COVID. No,
Yeah.
sorry.
My husband's convinced.
Your husband's convinced of that. We're not trying to get censored
Yeah.
here. I mean, you even said the name, and I was like, "Don't say the name of the brand." I'm like,
Oh,
it's okay. No, we're good. But okay. So, you're and like I said, I'm bringing these questions up because I understand them. Part of my PTSD was losing my dad at a young age. And other family members around me at a young age that I realized at a young age, nothing is guaranteed for you time-wise. Yeah. Going in the military, then seeing my friends that were 19 years old dying while I was 21, 22, 23, that even reminded me even more. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the same way. I'll turn my best friends down that want to play golf or something. Oh, yeah, I got this awesome golf tournament at Trump National, which I love playing golf at Trump National. Super expensive. So free one, awesome. What time? Oh, bro, but I pick up my kids every day at school because my dad never picked me up after their divorce, and once he died, I had never had a relationship with him. So it's like I want to be there for my kids for everything. I try to go to all their football game or any sports activity, anything that's at school. I try to do.
Yeah. Same with me. And nothing is.
So those two people is your life.
Yeah, they're my life, and obviously, I had such a support with, my mom and my sister. Like they took on my daughter like during that time and took care of her.
Which I get that, they're your blood, right?
Yeah.
You expect that. Which once again, you expect that from your husband. And I keep on bringing it up because I've told her I'm so happy that she has him. Like I think he's been so supportive and been there for you, where other guys might cheat or might just not be there or just
I've
whatever.
Heard of guys leaving. And it could
guys
be a
leaving
woman
their wife.
too.
I've heard boyfriend, girlfriends.
During treatment.
Yeah, you got cancer. I don't want to deal with this. It's tearing me up. It's tearing you up. Motherfucker, it's tearing me up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one going through it,
Yeah.
right? So, but, I mean, I remember everything. Like, it would be like seeing him all the time pick up your daughter. And he assumed major roles, you know what I'm saying?
Major caretaker, that caretaker
multiple
role,
caretaker.
It's a heavy one because seeing, the things that he's seen, like he says at this point, he's like, nothing can gross me out anymore because I've seen like everything from like birth to like you when you had your E. coli infection in the hospital. But
listen, I've seen it all in combat and then after combat. But once I remember seeing birth, I was like,
that's a whole other.
Yeah, I was like, what? And I mean, like I said, I've seen brain parts and everything, this and legs being blown up. But seeing that happen, I was like, what is going on? And then you went back to normal. Like, I'm like,
how did that work?
What? So it's like, yes. But so, yeah, now he's just like.
And he had to, he has a huge family, but it was his cousin, very, very close cousin of his, who is actually had Hodgkin's lymphoma when he was 20 something. So every time I had a question, I would say, hey, can can you ask him this for me? So that was great because it was a resource, you know. And before I had my bone marrow transplant, I reached out to the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society, and I said, hey, can I please go ahead and be matched with someone to talk to me so I can ask them questions about what I'm going to experience. And something that he said, you know, was very important. He said, this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do, but we get through it. And when things got hard, like even in the hospital, I had Code Rescue called on me. And
you had a what?
A Code Rescue called on me.
Okay.
Where they had, it was like about 15, 20 people came in. They put something in my artery to see kind of the condition of really kind of where my vitals really are. They put the patches on me, you know, the ones that they put like when your heart is going to go into arrest. They put those on me. I had really, really scary moments, and I thought, God, get me through this. And then I would think about what this gentleman told me, which was, we all get through it. We all get through it. So it's important to think, like, no matter how hard these situations are, you know, we get through it somehow. Sometimes it may not be the way that, you know, we want, but we do get through it because nothing lasts forever.
Nothing. Let me ask you some fun. Well, some of these are going to be fun questions. Some are just going to be questions that are interesting or whatever, but like relate to the topic, you know, to your situation. You know, like for instance, this one would be an interesting one. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be fun, but someone dealing with what you're going through, you are not invisible. Mm-hmm. You feel very, like if you're out in public and stuff, like everybody's looking at you, right?
Right, especially with a wig on.
Yeah. What would you do if you were invisible for a day?
If I was invisible for a day, oh man, I would honestly, and the first thing that came to me was I would go and see what my daughter does all day long and just be with her a day in
That's
school.
awesome.
That's what I would.
Yeah, I would do that too.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm gonna wait for this question because this one's gonna be a tough one. We're gonna need tissues for that one, but it's a good one. This one's a fun one because I know exactly who you are. All right. You are, if anybody knows Lorena, she is a humongous animal lover, like I could call her and tell her my dog just bit me, and she's like, oh my God, poor thing. Like,
well, you brought me a cat once.
Well, yeah, I did bring you a cat once, right? Was that the special ed one?
No, it was a beautiful, great cat.
Because you had a special ed cat.
Yeah, you found it in the middle of the road, and you're like, I honked at it and it wouldn't move out of the way.
Yeah, I didn't want to run it over, so I brought it to
so
you.
You brought it
All
to me.
So if you could talk to one species of animal, what would it be?
Oh, one species of animal, what would it be? I think a lion. A lion, just because.
Big cat.
Yeah, I
All
think
right,
that.
I mean, you have allergic to cats. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I mean, so let me talk to the biggest cat.
Yeah. I think especially now, like I see the lion and I think of that Katy Perry song, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get cancer. I'm gonna roar. I'm gonna die.
I know people have, you know, flavors that change. I know my stepdad said a lot of flavors change for him during treatment and stuff like that. So is there any weird food combinations that you really enjoy that you ended up missing out, or that you enjoy now because different flavors or different sensories or anything like that?
So because my immune system has been so highly compromised,
Okay.
which is the case with lymphomas and leukemias particularly, I am limited to what I can eat. So everything has to be like cooked, this and that. But I don't like taste anything different with food. I will say I have not had, the last time I had sushi was like in February.
Oh, I know you were a sushi lover.
2023. I haven't had sushi yet. I'm actually still in treatment, and I just had treatment.
But the port
yesterday.
is out.
The port's out, and then
Okay.
I got a trifusion line for my bone marrow transplant.
Wait, what is that? And where is that?
So they took out the chemo port and they put in a transfusion line, which is it goes in your chest, kind of right in this area, and it had 3 tubes sticking out. And so you have to have this thing covered all the time, so no germs, and keep everything like super hygienic. But it's so you can get chemo or medicine, hydration, and also if they need to take out your blood, and all 3 things can happen simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Through that thing.
Through that thing, and it runs into an artery of the heart, as the chemo port does as well.
Okay.
They all go in through like an artery of the heart. And then before I left the hospital, they're like, okay, we're going to take this out. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to be under anesthesia. And they're like, no, we're just going to pull it out. And I was like, what do you mean you're going to pull this out? Just pulled it out. I didn't feel a thing.
That's when they did. That's like when they took the things out of my nose. When they did last year, exactly a year now. They did nasal surgery. I had.
I remember when you went in.
Deviated septum to the right.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 pockets were cleaned out, and then I forgot what else. Oh, repaired a bunch of polyps from like damage that I had done, and I did not know they had these things that look like a spoon, that spoon part, the circle part, like that, almost as big as a plastic
It
spoon
went in your nose?
on each nostril. I didn't know what they looked like. And Lisa's like about to record as they're taking it out, and I'm like, put that thing away. I'm like, whatever. Like, I wish I would have recorded it because this was so huge and it's plastic. So when he goes, all right, ready? He pulls out. I go, that was in my nose. I'm like,
Did you feel it?
it felt like something big was coming out of my nose.
But no pain or
yeah,
anything.
no.
Yeah, it's incredible. Obvious, like everything that they do with science is really, really incredible. But I am still getting maintenance therapy right now.
So let's ask a couple questions here, and we're gonna wrap this up.
Sure.
We have 4 more here. All right, what's left on your bucket list?
What is left on my bucket list?
Like, did you feel going through everything you went through, the down part, the being locked up part, now that, like how you said, I'm not scared of germs or whatever, like I feel better and I'm going out. I mean, you're clearly sitting here.
Yeah.
Are there things that you want to start doing, like that you want to?
This may come as no surprise to you that always the bucket list that I wanted to do is have a sanctuary for animals.
I was gonna say, yeah, have like go to safari or something like that.
No, but I think that again, like now my priorities have just shifted a little bit in terms of where my focus is, my attention is.
Oh yeah, I have not seen. I mean, I used to see once again, and I'm gonna get some hate for this, but you were the type that you would share like Sarah McLachlan videos all the time, like in the arms of that little dog crying or a cat crying, right? Like I've never seen that again from you. Like it's more, I love you, but I would be like, God damn, babe, Lorena is so out of touch with humanity. She gives a shit about animals more, right? Like,
but you know, it's funny during this period.
Once again, I love animals, but.
I felt like, you know, sometimes that humanity, I was like, where is it? Sometimes you see the best in times like this of humanity, you do, you know, and you see the worst. And then you also find these connections with people who've been through those same situations.
Good.
That
Leads me to the next question. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
I would say, you mean like during this process?
I mean, like, this process clearly opened up your eyes to everything now, right? So everything you've experienced and everything now is it's a big bookmark. It's a page that's been highlighted in your book. You know what I'm saying? So it's a page that stands out. So a lot of advice from here sticks with you because it's the advice you've received in the lowest point, right?
Yeah.
But if you have from before, fine, you know what I'm saying? But you said someone gave you advice, so I'm asking, like, what's the best advice you've been given? You know what? Let's stick to the topic for this and through this.
Yeah, I would definitely say what the gentleman who the LLS matched me with, and he said, this is the hardest thing you're going to do, but we get through it. That we get through it. We all get through it. It just now everything, I mean, I went through, you know, facing death. You have faced that, you know, in combat as well, and you got through it. So now everything else, you're like, it may seem hard right now, but I'm gonna get through it, you know? And that's kind of that hope. Hope is the last thing you lose, you know?
Yeah, it is. So we'll go with 2 more. If you had to teach a class on one thing, what would you teach?
What would I teach? You know,
so nothing on this topic.
I was gonna say right now. No, I mean, I think it would
marketing,
be how to. No, I think it would be how to educate, you know, people that are maybe family members or friends that are interested in how to walk with someone and sit in the shit with them when they're going through something like this.
Which is why we're doing this.
Right.
Which is why I specifically put this statue on our table today, because I normally have it behind me, but did you see the little episode I did on this?
On
this statue that's called Silence is Golden,
Mm.
right? So then I looked at it, right, and I didn't see Silence is Golden. What I saw was someone going through silence themselves, like, I'm not going to speak up, I'm not going to say anything, but they're withering away. That's what I saw in this piece of art, right? But it's called Silence is Golden. So I named it that little, I think it's like 7 minutes long. I put it on TikTok, everywhere. It's on YouTube. And I asked just a very simple question. I started with that. Is silence golden when you're suffering through silence? Right? So, you know, like, you would teach a class on how to...
I think you have to.
Which is why, once again, I started this podcast.
Yeah.
This is hopefully my class that I'm trying to teach to anybody going through trauma, right? And I want to bring different types of guests because, like, you were asking me, like, oh, my God, because you've had people that have been raped. And I'm like, yeah, right. But this is still something huge. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you would teach a class on it.
Yeah, it's life, it's life-changing, and it's kind of how to, be there for them in the way that, because I think it's human nature, right? We want to give to someone, even when we love someone, we want to love them the way we want to love them. We want to give the way we want to live. If I'm going to help you out with something, and I need to make sure it's convenient for me, how do we kind of shift that where it's like, I need to help this person the way that they need? And sometimes it's sitting in the shit, and other times it's, yes, you're going to give me all the motivational phrases that everybody loves to give you in a situation like this, which honestly go through in here and out through here. Because
I tell people motivation is garbage. So
they go into
it's all
here
discipline.
and out
it's
through
all,
here, and it's like, just listen to me, just
which is
stay
discipline.
here and cry with me.
Yeah. All right. So this is the one that I said I was like, oh, should I ask it or not? But we're gonna fucking ask it because this is what this is about. You clearly maybe have gone through this multiple occasions now since your diagnosis. So if you were to die tomorrow, what little thing would you regret not doing?
It all goes back to my daughter. It all goes back to her. And I would probably think of like little moments that she has said, Mama, can you do this with me? And I'm like, oh, Mommy, I'm busy. I'm doing something else. I would regret not doing whatever she asked me at that moment.
And I asked that because I knew that was going to be the answer. Because I try to do that. Like I said, my PTSD is me dying tomorrow, and then I know I have all these factors that can make me get sick, right? Because of my service and everything. I mean, just a simple fact that I deal with mental health the way I deal with it. Yes, I look great. Okay, once again, do not go off of what you see on social media.
Absolutely.
All right. There's a young lady that I know, an Army veteran. I don't know, that I had just been shown up on my social feed in the last few days that apparently took her life. And the last video she has is her and her daughter that they're on, I think, on a trip somewhere, right? And if you look through her whole entire social media feed, it's like, this is the veteran that is overcome everything and is living awesome life. She is great. Supposedly she took her life. Okay. But I know many people like that. So, and I'm not saying I'm suicidal or anything's wrong. I'm fine. But you just never know. That's my fear with mental health, is that you don't really know how bad, I guess, it can get, or something can get triggered that then you do end up taking your life or something, right? Like I'm still very curious on how that works, right? So my fear, once again, is me not being there for my son. And I've taken that a lot into my decisions that I make, in the feelings that I have, because there's times with depression that, PTSD, depression is always lingering. And there's times that I might look great or whatever, and nothing's going on, but I'll tell Lisa, fuck, babe, I feel really sad today, like really depressed, right? And I don't want to do anything. But I've changed a lot more recently because I don't want my kids to be like, damn, I missed out on my dad doing this. Like I missed out on my dad because of the choices he made, right? And to deal with whatever he was going through, divorce-wise, drinking, he made those choices. I can make those choices too, but I already did, and now I'm choosing not to, right? So it's like I'm at the point now where, and I think people need to be more like this, where, for instance, my son got for Christmas, my youngest, Zelda for Nintendo. The game's hard. I got Zelda for my Switch too. Now we play it together, like not in the same game, but like he'll watch me. Clearly, I'm way more advanced in the game than he is, and he'll watch me. And now all of a sudden, Lisa will hear us, and he's like, "Papi, look at the elixir I made." And she's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And I'm like, I have something now that it's just me and him, a core memory that he'll have forever. I feel like I finally did what the voids I've had in my life, where if I do die tomorrow, fuck, man, he'll always have Zelda to go to or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is kind of the reason why I guess I've even ended up starting a fishing organization, is because when before my mom and my dad got separated, and divorced, that when I was 11, we used to fish all the time, all the fucking time. So I loved it. It's awkward because I don't take my kids as much fishing, and I don't know if it's because it's the trigger or whatnot, right? Now I'm starting to again. But subconsciously, fishing has somehow connected me to that memory, the core memories, right? So, I knew that was going to be the answer to that question. That's why I wanted to ask it last because, I guess when it comes to anything, and that's why I asked bucket list first, because I honestly thought you would give me, you did. You said a sanctuary and stuff like that, right? But then now if I ask that question again, you're like, fuck a sanctuary, fuck a lion, all that. I want to go back and say yes to having fake tea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something with her, because at the end, they are, it's what you leave behind, and this little human that the foundation. Like
I talk about it. It's about the impact and legacy you leave behind. And it does not necessarily mean you have to leave a legacy like a nonprofit organization with scholarships. No, it's the legacy you leave behind to those around you that just your daughter, one person can say, I want to live like that.
Yeah. I read something somewhere that it said, like, if you were to go ahead and you die, what would people say about you when you die? Because that's what you leave. Nobody ever says, oh, they had a great, Mercedes Benz, or this is,
well,
they were
look, I guarantee a few people are going to say Ozzy had a great bourbon collection. I guarantee
but
it.
What experiences and memories did you create with that?
Which is
bonding moments.
Which is why when friends come over my house, we drink that bourbon collection. I have the barrel now that people dump into the barrel. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yes, it's
it's the stories you share. That's the important thing. And I a couple of things, like you said, that people would say about me, but the most important human,
that's
is
awesome.
My daughter and what she would say,
All right. So we, at the beginning, brushed this up. But once again, I hope that this isn't a segment. And this is why I think I'm going to edit this and add it in towards the end. But what went through your mind? Because you did mention you did get, vaccinated and stuff like that. And once again, I'm not stating any facts or anything like that. This is just a question of, this is a serious question that anybody going through anything like this that might have.
We always want to know the why.
The why. I mean, hey, listen, I remember when we were in the Marine Corps, they had the anthrax vaccine going around that supposedly wasn't even tested either or FDA approved or something like that. I don't remember, something like that. I remember. But we had to get it mandatorily. And the rumor was that guys that got it only pumped out girls.
Like, you never got it, clearly.
Well, I did.
Oh,
but my question then is, all right, cool. So everyone I know that got it and had kids like right around that time frame while we were still in, a lot of them have girls. That is a fact. I'm not going to lie. That is a fact.
Right.
I don't know if I cycled out. You know what I'm saying? Like I had kids way after I got out. So but that's why. It's questions you have, though. I had that question while I was in. Am I only going to have girls now because I've heard this rumor, right? So you had a question that you asked your oncologist?
I went back. So the biggest theory, because they don't know why someone gets Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And clearly why in 5 months.
Yeah. And it was a very quick time progression, which I asked her, hey, can it be this quick? She's like, well, every person is kind of different, But if you research Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's actually one of the oldest types of cancers. So it has already, existed for some time. But one of the most conclusive theories there is behind it is that the mono, which now I'm forgetting the actual Epstein-Barr. Okay. Epstein-Barr is the technical name for the mono virus. We all have it pretty much in our systems. Every single person has this, okay? It's dormant in our bodies. Your body keeps it in check. But the theory is at some point, this virus reactivates and then it starts multiplying erratically. And that's kind of what causes the Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay.
So when they do your pathology, they can see, hey, does this person have the Epstein-Barr virus, EBV? So my question to my oncologist was, by the way, out of curiosity, again, because we're human beings, we want to know the why. did my pathology show Epstein-Barr virus?
Before.
When they did yeah, I already knew I had lymphoma. So when they took out, the piece and they looked at, and she's like, let me check. So she goes through, she's like, no, your mass had no Epstein-Barr virus. So I can rule that out, right? Now it's like, okay, so what caused it? So again, going back to my timeline, in September of 2021, I had an X-ray.
August, you had the last.
Right. In August, I had the last
shot
of, the Pfizer vaccine. I go ahead, have an X-ray in September because I have a cold, and the ENT was the one that sent me that X-ray, I believe it was. Negative, like there was nothing in there. So, we move on. But I asked her, I'm not saying that I obviously understand Hodgkin's lymphoma is a very old cancer. I'm not saying I was injected with cancer. I'm not saying
I was poisoned.
Right. I'm not saying, but could there be in the realm of possibilities that my body didn't take well to it? Because again, it was an mRNA vaccine, which what does an mRNA vaccine do? It teaches your body to kind of fight something, to kind of change the DNA of a certain cell. And what is Hodgkin's lymphoma? It is an immune cancer, a blood cancer. Okay. And she said, well, it's possible. It's possible that your body could maybe reacted poorly to it. The thing is, we won't know for years because, as you know, with these things, it's not until like 20 years from now we laughed about it because I said, if you were a loved one has suffered Hodgkin's lymphoma from the Pfizer vaccine, we won't know, but
it is a question you asked.
It is a question I asked. And I remember sitting there, when I got the vaccine in Walgreens, and I was just staring at the medicine that they have in the background. I was like, what did I just put into my body? Because again, I'm not a type of person that likes to put anything. Will we ever know? Maybe not.
So I guess with that, it would go, I think, to help individuals have a lot of information out there, right? What can and what not, whatever, right? I guess having something fully tested that we have these answers for. Did you continue getting any boosters or anything like that?
No.
Or I guess that was my question is, did you continue it? And then, so no, now you said stop it and then let's just focus on with what I got.
Right. No, I mean, I just had, the two, the first. Now, actually, after a bone marrow transplant, you get, polio, pneumococcal vaccine, Hep A, Hep B. You get everything new, like a baby, all your boosters. Eventually.
Because they took you to the point of the brink, right? Is it because of that or no?
No, you get the vaccines because remember, after a bone marrow transplant, your body, your slate is clean.
Okay.
So you start like a baby.
Okay.
You're a baby.
Gotcha.
So you're going to get your booster shots. Eventually, it's going to come to the point where they're going to say, okay,
you need to get
your
this
COVID vaccine is due now, and I'm not going to do it.
You're not going to do that
I'm not going to do it because I even had the suspect, the timing of it, how it was that I went from nothing showing on an X-ray in September of 2021 to in
5 months
February,
later, 12 centimeters.
12 centimeters by 7. It's not something I'm going to do.
It's not something normal to you, and it's an anomaly that can't be answered. So I got you. Yeah, I got what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
I'd rather, I'm just.
And thank you for opening up on that question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's important. We're our best advocate, our only advocate, and you have to do what's good for you.
Let me make sure I have no more questions here. Nope, because I had kept on getting messages here. Well,
yeah.
Lorena, I want to thank you so much for coming in. I think we had a very impactful episode. But no, I want to thank you very much. I know this was big for you because I didn't want to bother you or anything like that. Like, this was you. You made this. Like I said, I planted the seed and saying, hey, don't forget to have a podcast in case you ever want to come over. And then I was like, all right, maybe I'll hear from her next year or something like that. But you were like, all right, cool, let's do it. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ozzy. I really appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to say, one last thing you want to say or anything like that?
I do. I think it's, it's important. Another thing, because I feel like a lot of times, like, cancer survivors, they'll be kind of left at the end, like if my treatment would have finished and ended, it's like, okay, great. Now what? Eventually you don't see your oncologist as much, but your mind, it just keeps going in circles about what is this, and is this trying to kill me, and is that, what is it that I feel here, So I think that at some point, I don't know how, but there needs to be more resources for cancer survivors because during the what you're
For
going
the transition, then.
for the transition.
Look at this, man. This is interesting. You know,
During they're like, do you need a therapist?
But
do you
listen,
need this?
listen to once again the I guess the connection between like the veteran world and the process of that cutoff of the umbilical cord, that there's no transition. So you would hope that there would be some sort of transition.
Yeah, for mental health, because everything
For just specifically for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, because obviously each thing has its own, but everything you feel like is out to get you, even my husband's cousin, he's more than 5 years out. And my husband will tell me, oh, he went ahead and felt this, so now he's panicking.
Right.
And so this really gets you. So it's like, how do you train this to start trusting your body again, to start trusting, yourself?
Work on your mindset.
Yeah. So maybe that's something you can help us with.
Well, that's what we're doing. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This episode was amazing, and I hope it really is resourceful to you, your family, or anyone that is going through this. So don't forget, tune in. Once a month, I try to drop these episodes. Please like, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe, but like, comment, and share Post-Traumatic Survival. We're everywhere on social media. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.